Sit back and contemplate the state of your board game collection and think about all the games you've amassed. Try to group them into themes and settings. Maybe do this in front of your shelf and take stock of all those games. If you're not super busy, walk over there and take a look. What do you see? Good job on keeping that Calyx shelf relatively dust-free, by the way. On my shelf, I see Euros set in the days of yore. I see games based on horror movie IPs, some farming games, a whole lot of farming games, actually. What in the Uwe Rosenberg is going on here? I digress a bit, but most of us try to curate our shelves and include games that we enjoy, themes that we enjoy, games that we think we'll enjoy, and games that we hope will get played. I'm willing to bet that a lot of us factor into our consideration of board games the theme itself. Hi friends, this is your friendly neighborhood board gamer John Gonzalez. Theme is definitely a consideration when I am checking out new games. Are we space pirates trying to claim the most loot? Heck, are we old-timey pirates doing the same? Are we gallery owners trying to outshine each other by getting the most influence? This game lets me be one of Mozart's patrons, helping him to complete his last posthumous work. What? I get to play in the world of one of those horror movies I like so much? Sign me up. Some people might not care about the setting or theme of a game. That's fine. As I always say, enjoy the hobby however you like. If gameplay is all that matters to you, have at it. I'm not here to judge. And I say all this to say this. I own close to 400 games and not one of them is a game about Vikings. Well, that's not true anymore. I do own Knarr, the subject of this review. Pandasaurus Games was nice enough to send me a review copy to check out. Thank you, Pandasaurus Games. Of course, I've played games about Vikings before. I've even owned some, but I tend to move games out of my collection pretty consistently. And in fact, in the last 2 or so years, I've been more aggressive about culling games. It's a new habit I formed after being in the hobby for about 15 years. But again, I'm straying from the point, and the point of this segment is to talk about Knarr, a game about Vikings. Knarr is designed by Thomas Dupont, who has worked on games like Codex Naturalis, as well as a handful of games in the Carta Ventura series. The game features wonderful art by Antoine Carrion. Knarr is a largely card-driven game in which you and up to 3 other players are Vikings trying to make your fortune by exploring and trading. Imagine the table now with 2 rows of 3 destination cards which you can discover using your Viking cards. There's also a board to keep track of your score and your reputation. More on that later. There's an offer of 5 Viking cards under the score tracker. You start off with your own band of 2 randomly dealt Vikings to start off your tableau, a ship, 3 recruit tokens, 3 silver bracelets, and 3 Viking cards. On your turn, the decisions aren't that numerous. After all, this is a light game. Some might refer to as filler, but not me. You can recruit a new crew member to your band by playing one of your cards in your hand to your tableau. The cards come in 4 different colors: green, red, purple, yellow, and blue. And when adding a crew member to your crew, you have to place them in the column with the same color cards. Doing so grants you the asset on that card as well as all the other assets in that particular column of Vikings. Among the goodies you can receive are victory points, more crew cards, recruit tokens, silver bracelet tokens, and reputation points. I love free stuff. Who doesn't? Once you've claimed all your goodies, you can take the card in the offer of cards right under the symbol for the color you just played, or you can pay 1 recruit token to take any card from the offer. So you have to consider that when playing a certain color, you're going to then take into your hand the card under the color you just played, which might not be the same color. It adds a level of forward planning that can scratch that brain itch some of us want from games. If you don't feel like or don't want to recruit, you can also discover, and this means using the crew on your tableau to claim destination cards. These destination cards, which are very nicely illustrated, grant you victory points and all other kinds of assets. You place these discovery cards on top of your shipboard, and once per turn, you can spend silver bracelets using the trade action to gain even more assets. The way it works is that every player's ship has 3 columns on their ship's cell, which line up with columns on their destination cards. When you use the trade action, you turn in bracelet tokens to activate the columns and claim the assets on those columns. It lets you create your own resource generating exchange, and you can create some doozies for sure. There's also a reputation system in which you can move up a track. And once you reach certain milestones, you gain 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 points at the beginning of your turn. There's plenty of ways to score in Knarr and plenty of ways to set yourself up to score. I really appreciate the depth of the game, especially since it's meant to be a quick 30-minute game. Although sometimes the game does go by pretty quickly and your head kind of spins at how fast the end game approaches. For me, Knarr is definitely the type of game that I feel I want to play right after the game is over, if only to try to make an even better point and resource engine or to try a different approach. The presentation of the game is also a pretty neat and tidy affair. It's a small package and it features a couple things I would love to see more in board games. The game uses a system known as Color Add. The description of the system reads as follows. Color Add is a universal, inclusive, and non-discriminative language that enables the colorblind to identify colors. The system uses graphic symbols to represent blue, green, yellow, orange, red, violet, and brown. I am not colorblind, but I love seeing publishers make efforts to increase inclusivity in games. I do hope that this system helps make the game more accessible. The game also includes tuck boxes for the cards. I have been saying for years that tuck boxes for the various decks of cards in most board games should become the norm. The tuck boxes feature some nice artwork and are a very welcome touch. The wooden cubes and discs that are used to keep track of the points and reputations are black, white, brown, and darker brown, which can be a bit confusing when keeping track of who is who at the table. The colors are represented in each player's chipboard, but I often found myself having to take a closer look when moving the two trackers for other players, despite everyone having a specific icon attached to them. Eventually I got the hang of it, but it was a bit confusing for the first couple of plays. Vikings aren't one of my favorite themes for a game, but I do recognize a good game when I play it, and Knarr from Pandasaurus Games is a fun and quick game. If you like engine building games, check it out. For the 5x, I'm John Gonzalez. Thanks for listening.